Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition and we turn now to poem 318. I'll tell you how the sun rose. Now, the very opening of this poem, I'll tell you, gives rise to our naming of our series, Chats with Emily. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with this poem that scholars have wanted to point out. By the way, when it was first published in 1890, not by Emily Dickinson as we've already commented, it was called A Day. It's an interesting little poem. It moves from dawn to dusk, from sunrise, the first 8 lines, to sunset, the last 8 lines, without any kind of break when it was finally published. Now, this is one of 4 poems that Emily sent in a first letter to Thomas Higginson. We've commented on Higginson already as being an important part or player in Emily's requesting whether her poems were worthy or not, were they alive, and the possibility of publishing. By the way, the other 3 poems that were sent along with this one was poem 216, 319, and 320. These poems that are kind of collected together are sent, and we can ask about similarities, and we certainly will pay attention to that. Here, she's trying, I think, to argue, let me tell you how a day is built and how it ends. That is to say, from sunrise to sunset. Now, our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, a playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments where we mentioned, for example, somebody like Higginson, and as well, the preceding 317 poems. We just finished with 317, Just So Jesus Raps. And if you have been following that, you know that Emily is a great lover of nature. Now, it is true that sunset and sun up and sundown were always being referenced by Emily. In an early letter 175 to Mrs. Holland, she actually used some of the same personification that happens in this poem, telling Mrs. Holland, quote, "Tonight the crimson children are playing in the west," end quote. And then in her next letter, 261, to Higginson, she said it this way, quote, "You ask of my companions, hills, sir, and the sundown," end quote. So Emily identifies in powerful ways with sun up, sundown, and here she brings them together, and she says it this way, "I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time. The steeples swam in amethyst, the news like squirrels ran, the hills untied their bonnets, the bobolinks begun. Then I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. But how he set, I know not. There seemed a purple stile that little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while, till when they reached the other side, a dominie in gray put gently up the evening bars and led the flock away." Now, many of you will maybe even find an allusion or a reference to the 23rd Psalm, "He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures," and all of that. We've given a full series of comments on the 23rd Psalm at learnstrong.net. Notice the way it begins. I'll tell you, here by the way, all of the R sounds, all of the S sounds, all of the B sounds, right? Emily, this is a majestic little poem. I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time, which is an amazing way to think about the sunrise. The steeples swam in amethyst. We've seen amethyst referenced in poem 106. The news like squirrels ran. Notice she doesn't ever mention the sun. She rather mentions the way in which the sun rose, right? So she's focusing on the light as it's hitting all the different parts of the town. The news like squirrels ran, the hills untied their bonnets. We'll get to little girls here in a bit. The bobolinks, we know about her love of those birds, begun then. And it's as if she's watching and taking all of this in, and all of a sudden it hits her. I said softly, later it'll be gently, I said softly to myself, quote, that must have been the sun, end quote, exclamation point. In other words, it's almost as if she was so enjoying the light that was happening, and then it occurs to her, oh yeah, all that lighting has to do with sunrise. Amazing. But the key word now to shift, right? How he set, as in the sun, I know not. Go back to poem 45 when she says, I do not understand. I know not. There seemed a purple style. So notice we'll go from purple to, from yellow to purple. A purple style. That little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while. Now when we get to poem 1032, we're going to play this game of yellow and purple again. That poem reads like this. Who is the east, the yellow man who may be purple if he can, that carries in the sun? Who is the west, the purple man who may be yellow if he can, then lets him out again? This movement of her coloring from purple to yellow, yellow to purple. The symbiotic nature, of course, of sunrise, sunset. For every sunrise, there must be a sunset. For every sunset, there must again be equally a sunrise, right? The little yellow boys and girls were back to the bonnets of the girls. Were climbing all the while till when they reached the other side, a dominie in gray, of course the schoolmaster or a friar here in gray as the sun is now going down, put gently up the evening bars. This makes us think about Keats's To Autumn, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day. We've given full lectures on this poem at learnstrong.net. Put gently up the evening bars and led the flock away. Again, we're back to an allusion or a reference to the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What's going on here at 2a in this poem? I think that our argument is that life and the majesticness of life contains, of course, both a sunrise and a sunset. That is to say, both dynamism as well as death. That is to say, nature is amazing in its capacity to be so beautifully, harmoniously balanced. At 2b, the mood, the contrasting mood here is quite remarkable. Notice we go from the sunrise and all of the energy to the sunset and dusk, where it starts to become much more calming, right, gentle. At 3a, several scholars have pointed out that Wallace Stevens was influenced heavily by his study of Emily Dickinson. Go and look at Sunday Morning of Wallace Stevens to see what I mean there. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this, which one of them of the two described, the dawn or the dusk, do you love the most? And are you, like Emily, interested in both yellow as well as purple? I hope so. Thank you.